ranking the scene.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Ranking the Scene, where me, Sam, and my co-host Marcos bring new albums every week to an ever-growing tier list and rank them with the ultimate goal of ranking the whole scene.
Every album under the sun that's ever been released.
That's entirely correct. Now, if you do not want to be spoiled for the current rankings, you can go back and watch older episodes. Start at number 1, work your way all the way up to this most recent one. But otherwise, we're just going to get right into it, Marcos. As always, you can support us at patreon.com/SOTS podcast. You get early access to these episodes as well as deluxe episodes of our podcast, producer credits in our video, and more. If you're enjoying this show, leave a thumbs up on YouTube. And as always, say whatever the fuck you want in the comments. I think it's just good for like the algorithm and engagement and stuff. Just
Definitely.
say nonsense.
Talk shit.
Tell me your dreams. This week we've brought 2 Patreon suggestions, which once again, if you join at patreon.com/SOTS podcast, you too can offer your suggestions for albums to bring to ranking the scene. Those being, Marcos, Blueprints by Wage War and Laugh Tracks by Knocked Loose. I wanted to say After Laughter by Knocked Loose so bad. And I was like, why does that almost sound right, but doesn't quite get me there?
I thought it was like a bit of theater on your part, and you were like, laugh tracks.
Oh my God, you're all right. I'm going to delete all of this in between here and then pretend like I'm smart. And then, you know, because of issues recently ending as a project and the fact that this week was the week we're recording this, a decade since the release of their self-titled album, we thought we would bring that one into the fold as well. And what we present to you here this week, Marcos, are 3 debut metalcore records.
Total of 3 debut records. I didn't actually put that pattern together.
I actually asked our patrons specifically to give me debut records, which is why I, chose 2 of these and brought a different one myself. Now, Marcus, let's take in the current rankings real quick. As always, albums are ranked on a scale of, starting from the top, GOAT, and down from there, Masterpiece, Certified Hood Classic, That Bitch, Just Okay, Pretty Mid, Fucking Awful, and Crime to Humanity.
Now, nothing in Fucking Awful yet. Nothing in Crime to Humanity. One debut album sits alone atop GOAT.
Are there any other debut albums on here? Now that I'm kind of like The Poison. The Poison was a debut.
At the Skylines was a
At
debut.
Skylines was the only album from.
I Set My Friends on Fire was debut.
Yeah. Was that Casey album a debut? I'm not positive actually.
That was not the debut Casey
was not the
album.
debut. Okay. Was
Not
that
the debut Omarosa, not debut Wonder Years.
Okay,
not
all right. So
debut
just those. Scene gods have blessed us, Marcos. The fact that there is no Fucking Awful or Crime to Humanity we've had to experience thus far.
They're out there.
And for that, I'm grateful.
I don't know.
Oh, they're out. They're fucking out there. I've heard some of them. I assure you.
I don't know if they'll be here this week, but they're out there.
Mm-hmm.
They're out there.
So let's get started here, Marcos. Blueprints by Wage War. The
Debut album.
The debut album from American metalcore band Wage War, released on the 27th of November, 2015. Prior to this recording, Marcos, had you heard this album?
Yes. Yeah, no, I heard this probably the day it released.
We reviewed this on the show, actually, the regular podcast.
Yeah. We listened to this band as they sort of...
We're day ones.
Became known. I think Alive was their first first song released on Fearless Records. And we were there. We were there for that fucking video. We were there for the release of this album. I think back to this one fondly. It makes me sick to my stomach that it's nearly 10 years old.
Oh my God, you're right.
Not like that.
We're coming up on a decade of the first Wage War album. Is fucking insane. Are you fucking kidding me?
So
yeah.
Interestingly enough, Sam, we're not talking about the recently re-released Blueprints.
Yeah, I went into this, I saw the Blueprints Anniversary Edition, and I was like, nah, I'm just going to listen to the regular one. I don't know why. It was just like, this'll do.
Without Surrounded.
Is that the only track we're
I
missing?
think that was the only other track we're missing. I don't really remember the sell on that one. I don't think it was because they
Was it 5 years
re-recorded
of
much of
Blueprints or
anything.
anything? Maybe something like that.
Might have been 5 years of Blueprints, but I don't think they like re-recorded anything. So this is really still just, this album, Blueprints. Nothing crazy about it. It's crazy how fucking good Wage War was right out the gates.
It's fucked because I know I didn't appreciate them at the time. I fucking know I didn't. I pushed back here. This was me early on trying to weather the transition from like what was currently the popular style of metalcore into what we were moving into as like the new wave. Like bands like Wage War, Polaris, I Prevail, and I'm sitting there and I'm clutching like Motionless in White, I See Stars and Issues to my chest.
Right.
You know what I mean?
2014 and 15 was like a real interesting year because we'll get to Issues. Like they dropped the album around that time too, of course, like 2014.
But it still felt like a vestige of the past. Obviously, that band being made up of members of Woe Is Me.
But like outside of those newer bands that were coming along, like a lot of the older bands that I still loved were hurting me. Like this is around the time Upon a Burning Body dropped like another bad album.
Memphis May Fire had lost the plot a little bit.
Like yeah, stuff like that was going on. But like I wasn't ready to let any of that go and accept new bands either. So you're right, like probably definitely didn't
it was a lot
appreciate
of one of those
this band
cases
enough
where, like,
initially.
Everyone is screaming at me, this band, they're incredible, they're amazing. And I'm like, I'll decide if they're, and I'm like, they're no Bless the Fall.
I remember a real turning point being seeing them on Warped, I think like the following summer.
Yeah.
And then sitting there thinking like, damn, all right. No, this band's fucking about it. They're good. They're going to be around.
Going back and listening to this week, did it resonate with you more or less this time around?
This album, I think, resonates with me more.
Yeah, I agree.
But I have a vastly different...
I'm in a better headspace for it.
Vastly different memory of this record than what turns out being the truth. Dude, this album is barely Cody.
It's crazy. And what's funny, when it is Cody, it's not great. Cody is a vocalist that I think has like grown exponentially into arguably one of the, if not best feature of Wage War, and that is not at all the case on this album. It's just not there yet.
I mean, like it fits and starts like on a live. I think like the last 45 seconds of that song is all Cody, and like
it just doesn't have the same
arguably
punch.
like no, that's arguably like the best 45 seconds of this entire album.
You're out of your fucking mind. That's simply
But
not true.
everything else, like in my mind, I look back to this record.
It's fucking crazy.
I look back to this record and I'm like, man, this is like Cody's coming out party, like this is when we learned that Wage War had like some of the best choruses that metalcore bands could even offer ever history. And then that's my memory going into it.
Okay.
And then I listened to it, and by the time I get to like Basic Hate and Desperate, the closer, I'm like, not only is he barely on this, you're right, when he is on this, he is not taking the spotlight away. In a way that, like, in my mind, I was like, no, this is all him.
It is. And I think maybe the recent albums sort of warped your memory of this in the sense that it's like...
It had to have. Because he becomes such a quintessential part of the next album, of course, especially the one after that, and, of course, this newest one, Manic, I think.
Though Manic is a little bit heavier for what it's worth.
It is.
They kind of circled back to their Blueprint era.
To this, apparently. But I
do
do not remember this album being this heavy. Of course, like, everyone remembers The River.
That's what I mean. You said the last 45 seconds of Alive are the best on here? Or was that your memory? Because it's obviously the cough breakdown.
No.
Obviously.
Yeah, that's the best 1 second of this entire album.
It goes longer than that. It's a cough into a breakdown.
I really love that vocal part, specifically at the end of that song. But no, like River is still the song on this album. It always has been.
That bitch.
That bitch. And I think ultimately that might be where it goes. We won't exactly jump into it. We don't know yet.
Hold on.
But like, yes, this is a heavy album, and I did not remember it being this heavy. Like we got some good ass bliss. Of course, you got the Bleh and River. This album kicks off with a bleh for the most part.
Time does
on
this
Hollow. It's like 30 seconds in, you get a bleh.
I just think that for whatever reason, I can't put my finger on it, but every album that doesn't quite sound as heavy as you thought it did, when you go back to it like 10 years later, somehow like compared to current day, it always sounds significantly like, I think there's something about like, I don't know if it's like the production during like certain eras of the scene or something like that, where it's like, just everything about this feels a little less polished. So it punches a little harder.
The screaming is just like nastier though. Like you do a lot more like just like higher, like vocal fry style screams, or it just sounds like I love it when it just sounds like it's tearing the fucking vocalist's throat apart.
Love that. Like they're doing it like for the fucking love of the game. You know what I mean? Right.
And that happens a lot on this record. Youngblood still fucking hurts to listen to.
Youngblood hurts to listen to a little bit.
That's still an emotional ass song. Of course, you know, a friend of the band who passed away via self-harm suicide. I think it was a gun. That's mentioned lyrically as well. And then like that fucking 1-2 punch going into Youngblood, and then The River, which is a completely different energy, but both are the best songs on this record, I think.
I will
with
say,
Alive being right behind them.
I will say that intro, Hollow, is quite the fucking hype beast.
It's good. Also, I don't know about you, but I remember The River only being like a 58-second song. I think it's old because, like, in my mind, the memory is warped of it being the first 58 seconds because of what happens in those 58 seconds.
Interesting. I feel like I don't even remember this. No, I didn't have.
But I did not remember this being like a 3-minute song.
I think I did. Truthfully, I don't think we're aligned there. All right, I'm gonna be real with you.
It peters out a little bit.
It fizzles out in the fucking.
I'm not saying it's like a full flat tire, but you get to Basic Hate and Desperate, and I don't care anymore.
Yes, it's heavy, and it's like consistently heavy in that back end, but it doesn't have like the same fucking like.
Basic Hate is doing something like, you know, different, like subject matter lyrically.
It's got no hits.
It's
got no hits. Back half of this album don't got hits.
Back half
of that up.
Out of Your Mind. It has Enemy.
Hold on.
What did you do?
Hold on.
Enemies on the back are Deadlocked.
All right. Spineless, Basic Hate, and Desperate.
Spineless is better than you're giving credit.
I don't know. I think it's kind of forgettable, to be honest with you. I think this album is incredibly top heavy. Incredibly top heavy.
It does have its best songs, but like, again, like you're discounting something like Enemy. I think Enemy's solid.
Straight Growth, Peak at the River, and then everything from there.
Deadlocked is good. Deadlocked is good too.
It's not bad. I didn't say it was bad. I'm just saying it doesn't quite match.
Top heavy through 8.
Where's your head at theoretically here?
I guess going into this, I might have been at that bitch. Talking to you, I might be closer to just okay. But like, it's got a lot of great moments.
It's got a lot of great moments.
I don't know. Where's your head at?
The problem is that I'm looking at Finding God Before God Finds Me.
That's the problem.
Like, it ain't that.
That should not have been the first one in that bitch.
It ain't that. The question is does it beat out this little fucking pack from At the Skylines to the Wonder Years here? I think it beats a couple of them for sure.
It beats a couple of them. I think
it's above the Wonder Years easy.
It's above Casey, respectfully.
Yeah.
It's above Emarosa. I think I actually take it above After Laughter too. I still don't take it over At the Skylines. I think we hit the nail on the head in an earlier episode when we first ranked these. I think that's the top of Just Okay. I think it's going to stay there for a long time.
I don't know if I'm with you here.
See, what are you thinking?
I don't know. Part of me feels
below
like it's
Emarosa?
either above everybody or it doesn't pass the midpoint.
So it's not above everybody then. There's no shot.
So then I think maybe it does actually run into like competition in this middle pack right here with Paramore and Emarosa.
I think we both agree then it is better than Wonder Years, better than Casey.
Yeah. The question is does it get higher than that? I
think this is better than that Emarosa album.
Well, you said earlier you think it's better than the Paramore one too.
I'm baby steps to where I want it to get.
Don't play fucking mind games with me. This might be better than At the Skylines.
Ooh.
I might be willing to go
I
all the
don't
way with
know.
it. I might be willing to slot it at the top of Just Okay. I know we both enjoy the novelty of this idea
It's so good.
that At the Skylines
It's
is the
so
perfect Just
funny.
Okay, but I think we run into issues when we start to say that it's now a better album than something like this, which I just think is like categorically wrong.
It's, again, this band came out strong.
So like if you want to bump it up here, I think that's too far, but I think it might have to go ahead of At the Skylines.
All right, fuck it. Finally dethroned At the Skylines. Not without a little bit of fight.
The king of Just Okay. The king of Just Okay.
Yeah, damn.
Marcos,
Good run.
we move on to Laugh Tracks ha, 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 by Knocked Loose.
You're doing too much now. It's just laugh tracks.
To be fair, the title and
an
closing track of
understated.
this album injects laughter into the proceedings.
How?
Did they not laugh in that track?
Did they?
Did they not literally
Did I not
laugh?
catch it?
Don't
I might
make
not
me
have
feel
caught it.
like I've like imagined.
No, I thought
this.
you were saying it was just like a funny song.
I've like false created.
It might have been the case.
Like they tell jokes, like they
Yeah.
do like 12 minutes.
Just a little bit of stand up.
Just do like 12 minutes. Would actually be a
Do
hilarious
5.
thing to do.
Cool. So
You have me second guessing myself so hard right now. I'm so like deep in my head right now.
no,
I'm
you're
sorry.
fine.
Go ahead.
They only laugh on that track. Ha 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 ha.
Stop.
It's just like the fucking. It's like Jared Leto's Joker. They performed together, did they not?
They did. God, it's weird to think that there's a universe.
I can't
where,
believe that
like,
happened.
Jared Leto's like, oh, let me check out the new Knocked Loose real quick. So what's going on?
Bro, we were talking about, who's going to be clean singing on this new Knocked Loose album.
Jared Leto feature on a new
It's
Knocked Loose.
Jay
album would
Leto,
fucking
dog.
Break the internet.
Morbius.
Absolutely break the internet.
He comes on, like everyone's saying, like, oh, fucking Knocked Loose, motherfucker, arf arf. No, it's Morbin time. That's what we're about to hear. Laugh tracks. Don't let my jokes land.
Why am I losing patience with you?
with
so
such a
quickly
thought
tonight?
on this fucking 11 tracks, all pretty good ones. I'm not gonna lie. Laugh tracks is what pretty much everyone has always promised it was, which was a good album. And
It's
I don't know
another
why I
example
never
of me
got
pushing
around
back. Yeah, it's
to
another
listening
example.
to it. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely an example of pushing back.
I wasn't ready for the future yet.
It didn't take long though, because obviously Different Shade of Blue comes out right after that, and we're on top of that one. I'm
I think
listening
Knocked
to
Loose
all
is a band
that.
that's gotten categorically better with each release. All right, listen. Let's talk about the most important part of this album. Counting Worms is probably in the top 100 scene songs of all time. Like
Really?
most important,
All right.
a mark on the timeline of the scene.
You can talk me
I
into
think that is undeniable. It's worth noting that everyone might not be familiar with Knocked Loose material overall, but everyone knows the Arf Arf.
Everybody
Do you know what
knows
I
the
mean?
Arf Arf. Yeah. No,
The Arf Arf heard around the scene. And I think that carries a lot of weight on this record. That carries
Really?
a lot of weight
Well,
on this record.
I
I
could
just mean in terms
see-
of like historical significance for me, this album could have been nothing but that, and it would still be like Hall of Fame contender.
No. Okay.
And what I
sure,
mean to say
sure.
is that like just like level of importance is what I mean to say.
Yeah.
Like this is the album that has that.
Yes.
That's extremely important. It's more important than The Cough in the River. So much more important than The Cough in the River. Don't even fucking play right now. Are you being insane?
The Cough in the River into the Blay. Maybe.
I wrote a
Maybe.
song about feeling better is not one of the most iconic lines in the scene of all time.
Apparently not, because you just got it wrong.
I wrote a song about feeling better.
You're wrong. You're so
I
fucking
wrote a
fake.
song
You're a fake Knocked Loose fan.
about feeling better.
It's not that.
What is it then?
About getting better.
Whatever. You know what I fucking
No!
mean.
You're the one
It's
telling me
literally
it's the most
same
iconic
thing.
line of all time,
It's a feeling
and you
I-
got it wrong.
I don't quite remember.
Still wrong.
Okay. The rest of the album around it. All right. So Counting Worms.
I didn't realize Billy No Mates had the Brendan Murphy feature.
I didn't realize that either. Brendan Murphy of Counterparts, for those who aren't aware.
Yeah.
Counting Worms, My Heroes, Billy No Mates,
insane.
The perfect trifecta.
It's insane, yeah.
One of the craziest like 1, 2, 3s in history. Everything else around it, Marcus, I'm gonna be real with you, I'm a little less enthusiastic about.
I liked Oblivion's Peak. I think the Rain had some
relatively
moments.
hot. Similarly to that,
Fetish was okay. But yeah, like I said earlier, like
I
the
feel
rest,
real okay about the last few songs on this album.
what's around it is mostly just good. Like I kind of alluded to that earlier.
Vibes
It's
carry this
fine.
album really, really far, right?
Yeah.
Like
This is not the masterpiece that everyone told me it was.
No, not at all. But then again, this is talking about you and I's taste in particular when we generally lean towards bands that have a little bit more accessibility, whereas Knocked Loose are one of these bands who people who actively like bands who push against that would lean towards.
Sure.
So it's like, oh yeah, Knocked Loose, real metalcore. We're talking about real Oldham, fucking all that shit.
Real Oldham.
Yeah, real Oldham. I wrote a song about getting better.
About feeling better.
Why does it sound so much better my way? Should they rewrite it to match
Feeling better
how
or
I
getting
remember
better?
it?
No, I don't even know which one it is.
If I'm actually right, I'm gonna be fucking pissed.
I wrote a song about getting better. It's a feeling I can't recall.
Yeah, what did I say?
Can't remember. Okay, all right. Let's look at this tier list.
Let's go look at this tier list.
Let's look at this tier list together. I think just okay, if not pretty mid. This is a similar case to Silverstein.
I just feel like you and I gotta we gotta make sure the streets are cleared before we go ahead and call this album pretty mid. You're
worried about the streets?
We gotta make sure the walk home will be safe. That I'm gonna be able to get I'm gonna be able to get across the parking lot from the venue to my car before I start saying an album like this is pretty mid. You gotta be sure. You gotta be sure.
We're not saying Billy No Mates is mid. We're not saying Counting Worms is mid.
We're saying the overall experience has a taste of midness.
Shaky.
That
what? You can't remember?
I think if you're talking pretty mid, this doesn't clear Silverstein.
Oh, okay. Okay. No, I think the most iconic Silverstein songs on that album clear the most iconic Knocked Loose songs on this. Like if you're talking like Counting Worms is top 100 scene song, so is like Smiling in Your Sleep.
Or My Heroine, yeah, I'll give you
probably
that.
My Heroine for me.
Yeah.
I will say that this album's probably better for sure than I Set My Friends on Fire.
Yeah, I'm also kind of there too, but
this is actually the album that is closest to Silverstein, not just physically right now where you have it held.
Physically right now though, yeah.
But like for me, like I mean, you got like 3 bangers on each of them and you've got an album around them.
Yeah, they're almost identical in that way, 100%. I'm not sweating this spot.
I'm not sweating that.
I'm not sweating that spot, Marcus. That leaves us with one
respectfully
album.
Pretty mid.
Respectfully to every album. Pretty mid. Respectfully to the mid-class of albums.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Issues self-titled
Good company,
Marcos.
Good company in there.
American new metalcore band Issues. It was produced by Matt Malpass and was the band's first release with current drummer Josh Manuel. Issues was released on February 18th, 2014. Rise Records, number 3 on the Billboard 200. Insane, actually. 22,000 copies in its first week.
Not fucking bad at all. Have you heard this one, Sam? Did you hear it before today?
I heard this like the second it came out. Like I'm not even fucking playing with y'all.
You were there for the Woe Is Me Beef
appointment
double
listening.
single drop, right?
I mean, we're coming off fucking Black Diamonds EP, which is a fucking masterpiece in and of itself. This was probably one of the most hype releases in history for me. Stingray Affliction?
Stingray Affliction.
And we're talking about some of these other singles, Marcos. Like this, I going back and revisiting this was such an insane feeling because I had steered clear of the vast majority of this older Issues material that is obviously sullied by the actions of fucking Tyler Carter.
I mean, outside of one new single, all of it was old Issues solely by Tyler Carter.
Well, yeah, okay, yes. Oh, I guess in that sense you're right.
But
I
I'm
stayed away
agreeing.
from issues from entirely.
Well, but we're going from like top 5 most streamed band of all time for me,
Yeah.
to a band I pretty much stopped listening to because I didn't want to even have to think about it.
Yeah, I don't want to engage with this anymore. So then for this show, going back and listening to this album and being like, man, it's certainly, the quality holds up. That is undeniable. Like this was and still is one of the best releases that has ever come out of the scene, far and away.
They did it with a debut.
The individuals in this room who put this album, like it's specifically these people who were all together at this point in time in the scene, who came together for this record. I honestly, I don't think they ever replicated it. I don't think they, with their following 2 albums, came close to touching the greatness of this. This was like one of those perfect moment in times.
I fully agree. I mean, this one it's just incredible. Like, there are so many aspects of it you forget, like Sad Ghost, like just there's like a strange atmosphere to this album at times with a track like Sad Ghost, the Langdon House, and then on the other end of that spectrum, you have songs like Late, which are like some of the best pop songs this scene will ever create.
The way that
Mad at Myself,
the way that
needs
they
no
mixed
introduction,
genres and like sort of combine them into a style that felt incredibly fresh, like a band that just felt a whole generation ahead of everyone around them.
Yep. And then you had fun stuff like not wanting to be the voice of a generation on the track Personality Cult. Like, there's so much. The scene used to be so fun sometimes. Calling out bands like Memphis Mayfire on an album for no real reason.
There certainly, in ways, feel like there was a significantly more innocent time in this scene until a lot of things came to light.
You used to sub songs. Now it's sub tweets.
Precisely correct.
Right.
Yes.
Tears on the Runway Part 2 featuring Nilo. Still an incredible track. I even love tracks like Old Dina on here, where it's essentially just an interlude, but like this band makes the most out of every single second they record, and it pays off extravagantly. This is one of my favorite records in general. Like,
yeah, it's in my head, I thought there were blemishes on this record. I thought there were aspects of this. I thought there were some songs that didn't quite hit, and going back and listening to it, like I couldn't find them.
Yeah, you forget Life of a Nine is like a top 5 issue song in general.
Remember When is such a fucking like heavy hitting closer. Like it resonates with me so strongly emotionally.
Never Lose Your Flames is on here.
I've never been happier and angrier to revisit an album in my life.
Yeah.
Because it's like you can't change the present of how this album now exists in history, but going back and remembering how I felt like when this first dropped and like hearing these songs again it's like the same experience we had when we were talking about that Emarosa album, you know?
And honestly, like we've talked about it, at least on the State of the Scene on the regular podcast, plenty of times before, but like issues in that specific era, Emarosa in like that era, on A Toast to the Future Kids, or not the self-titled, whatever this one is. Like those are always like my favorite version of anything I've ever heard. Like you asked me to make the best metalcore band, it's with that vocal style. It's with the tracks on
the R&B
like
influence. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. This album's one of the most important records I've ever heard. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know where it lands though.
Where does it land?
Like you said, it doesn't have any blemishes. Does that qualify it for GOAT? Does it qualify it for masterpiece? Are both of those too high? Is it certified hood classic? Is it that bitch? I don't see it.
It's better than both albums and certified hood classic.
It's
in
above,
top 2 tiers.
Really?
It's in top 2 tiers for me.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure where I would place it. I could see...
For worse, Tyler Carter is arguably the best singer that we've ever had in the scene.
The craziest part of listening to this is me realizing, and I don't know if it's because I listen to it a little differently now, I did not appreciate Michael Bond in this band enough.
Me either. It's weird coming back to this and being like, fuck, man.
I'm pissed.
They shouldn't have reeled this guy in.
I'm pissed at like 2016, 2017 me for not being more bothered by Michael Bond being told to exit this band.
Yeah, agreed.
I'm mad at myself.
How many spots does that dock them?
At least 5.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Michael Bond's the unsung hero of this record because like, holy fucking shit, when he's screaming, dude, it is so hype.
I mean, talking about unsung heroes, let's talk a little bit about Lo-File. Like,
Yeah.
I forgot how fucking fun it is to do the little scratches bullshit on albums.
It's really cool.
They were just trying so much, and for whatever reason, they managed to get away with all of it.
Immediate influence, Sam, not even a year later, with fucking, I forget which track, you get those same scratches. I know this exists in nu metal. Those same scratches again revived on that Wage War album once for only one song, but I promise you it's because we're looking at the current landscape and what Lo-File was doing on this issue, self-titled.
This
I
album
promise you.
album should have influenced more of the scene than it did, honestly, but I just wonder if everyone around this band wasn't capable of doing what they were doing.
That could be it. That could absolutely be it. Because there's a big glow up with a lot of your members going from Numbers with What Was Me to this album.
Mm-hmm.
This album runs circles around that record. Personally, I think. But like, you're right.
We're going to have to wait till we get to it.
We'll have to wait. Well, you just said the Issues albums are definitely going under wherever we place this.
No spoilers.
Also, as far as like not replicating, I just also wanted to mention like we never saw any artwork, anything like the artwork on this one ever again. Not to say it's like the most unique thing in the world, but like it seemed like such an easily
closest thing I want to say,
like you would expect
like,
other bands to try to steal that and do something different with it.
Of Mice and Men at one point did their logo in a way that was like it had a bunch of script, so it's like you zoom in and it's like it might have just been the same thing over and over and over again, like this is a family or whatever their hook was at that time. But you're
even
right.
like the triangle with the person with like the twisted fingers behind their back.
You know what's
whatever.
the first analogous?
Crossed fingers.
You know what the first analogous is that comes up comparing bands to Issues? I think of Siler. And
Yeah.
they really kind of felt like they came close at
It
points.
took to like help to get there, but like that wasn't too far after
And it
this
was never
album.
perfect and like
Yeah.
it's significantly more flawed, but had the
Significantly.
right idea.
It was a fun record.
Palisades a little bit.
Palisades for sure. But none of them came close.
Marcos, where is it?
It's Masterpiece.
Ooh,
I think it's
okay.
Masterpiece. What do you think?
Do I think this album is one of the GOATs? Is a question I need to stop and think about real quick. If it's not, I think it's above Shikari. Maybe. Yeah, it's above Shikari. If it's not, it's still above Shikari.
I won't
So
stop
it's
you
either
if
the
that's where
top
you
of
put it.
Masterpiece or it's the second GOAT album we've ever had.
Top of Masterpiece is fucking insane. I kind of love it. I'm fine with that. That looks right to me. This all looks right. Categorically, so far, the worst album we have listened to is that Amir record.
God, it seems so mean when you
It's fun-
say that.
it's
though,
fun
'cause
looking at it
I
like
didn't even like actively dislike that
Yeah.
album, but yeah, I guess that's the case.
Right? It has to be.
All
It's
right.
out of the top 15, Sam.
If you once again want to submit suggestions to Ranking the Scene, you can do so at patreon.com/SOTS podcast. Every once in a while, I like to provide a prompt over there. You know, this week I want to do debut records. We might try some different things in the future, you know, try to make it interesting. Join us next week. Love you guys. Bye.
Good fucking play.